Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast episode. Today we are um joined by Michelle Mullany from
Yeah.
the Infernal musical.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
So first, how are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah. Happy to be here. It's a gorgeous, sunny day. It's going to be really hot later. So,
Mhm.
kind of enjoying the cooler morning air before it gets really, really hot.
Yeah. It's been hot here. We just had a storm here actually, and I was like
Oh,
I was a little afraid because the power went out for like a split second, and I'm like, oh god, I really hope that the power doesn't go completely out, and I have to cancel all my interviews.
right, right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That would be so hard to juggle.
yeah, definitely. So why don't you tell me a little bit about Infernal?
Yeah, definitely. So, Infernal is a rock musical that's based on Dante's Inferno. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop my washer real quick because it is really stinking loud. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Okay.
All right, apologies. I just didn't want you to have to hear my washer in the background through the entire interview.
No, you're fine.
So, Infernal the Musical is a rock musical based on Dante's Inferno. It's about this young girl named Lily. She dies, she goes to hell. She's like, why am I in hell? I'm a good person. But as she goes through the different circles of hell, she realizes that, actions have consequences, and can she learn to face her past in time to save her soul? We meet the devil, we meet Lilith, the mother of demons, the seven deadly sins, Charon and Eve, and it's just like a hellishly good time.
Hmm. Um. So then you are the one who created this. You're
Yeah,
the creator. What
I'm
was
the
that process like?
yeah, definitely. So as all artists do, I was kind of going through a hard time, and I was really sad. I was vacuuming one day, and I had this line come into my head, which goes, I've made mistakes. Yes, I've dug my grave, but it's too late to turn back once you've started the track down to hell. And I was just like vacuuming and like singing, freestyling. And I was like, hell, why hasn't anybody written a musical based on Dante's Inferno yet?
Mhm.
Um, and I kind of used the hardships I was going through in my own life, loss, losing friends, losing loved ones, and I siphoned that into the musical. COVID hit, and like suddenly I was out of work. We were
Mhm.
all out of work, and I was like, this is the best time possible for me to just like see if I can be a writer, like take my shot at it, give a chance to employ myself, employ my friends. And it's been a wild journey so far.
Mhm. Um, so where is this musical? Is it in New York or is it in
So we've had 3 iterations so far. So at first we did a 10-song concept album, which we recorded at Smash Studios in New York City, and we released that on YouTube Live. Then in October of 2021, we went to the Flea Theater in downtown New York City and did our off Broadway run. Then we did an off Broadway AEA 29-hour reading also in New York City. And now the next step is the out of town reading or out of town tryout. That's Chicago, Atlanta. We're also looking at London / the UK, or even off Broadway if there's New York theaters who are interested in the work.
Mhm. Mhm. I mean, and I've just seen the clips, and I like clips on TikTok and everything, and it looks so good. It looks
Oh, thank you. I
so dark.
really
It looks so dark and so good. Like
yeah.
I'm a sucker for like all things like dark.
Yeah.
So
It's definitely spooky. Like it's sexy, it's spooky. Hell kind of feels like a party, but we're also using it as a device to talk about these harder things, which is like loss and making mistakes while you're growing up. And this idea that you're allowed to make mistakes as long as you're learning from them along the way.
mhm. And that actually led into my next question is like what sort of themes are there in Infernal?
Yeah. So the main plot line is that Lily has lost her mother and she runs away from home. And then she ends up dying later. And hell is a metaphor for her not facing her past, her not facing her grief, and having to be able to face what she's done and be able to own it. You have to take ownership of where you're at in order to grow from there, and understanding we need each other to rely on to become better.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it looks good. It's like the costuming. That's another thing too, is like the costuming and the sets are like perfect. Like,
oh, thank you. Yeah, we assembled a really cool team. A lot of the clips that are on TikTok are from our one act performance in 2021. So my mom and I actually did the costuming, and we got most of the items off Amazon, funnily enough. And then we hired a projection / lighting designer and set / projection designer. So we just like called upon our friends to reach out to all their contacts. And we built this amazing team who I hope will want to keep coming back and making more cool art together.
I mean, in my opinion, like, that's genius to get stuff off of Amazon. It's just a genius idea. If Broadway could just take that idea and be like, okay, we're gonna just get our costuming off of Amazon and then judge it up a little bit.
Yeah, it would probably cut the budget a lot, but also I know there's so much care and detail that goes into the costuming for Broadway shows, and also it has to uphold for 8 shows a week for years and years and years and years. So the stuff on Amazon is not gonna last that long. We only 4 shows, so that's kind of why we were able to get away with it, and we had a tiny budget. But if I had lots of money, like, I would have seamstresses. I would have them sew in corsets or whatever.
I mean, okay, that's a little bit true, I guess. Like, you have 8 shows a week and you gotta make do, but like, also, like, that's why some shows don't last very long on Broadway, because like they don't have the budget, because you spend the budget.
It's so hard. That money plays such a big factor, especially in the commercial theater scene, especially in Broadway. That's something we're seeing a lot of right now, is money kind of driving the stories that are getting to be told. And I know that a lot of people have different opinions about it, but we're all trying to do our best as a community to both give people the representation and the stories that they want to hear, and also understanding that it costs upward of $20 million to put on a Broadway show. Like, that's an insane number.
I mean, like, stuff like Phantom of the Opera, that was like there for like 30 years. That was lucky to have been on Broadway for 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, my dream right now is just to get to Broadway, just to get my work being seen. Then I'll think about 30 years. I would love to be the next Phantom, but first things first is to get to that milestone first.
Yesterday we just celebrated a 1 year of this podcast. Yesterday.
Congratulations! Yeah, I saw that on your TikTok.
Thank you. And I had mentioned that because New York is about to bring Phantom back, but in a new way. It's like an immersive.
Right. I saw that.
And I didn't get to say this yesterday, but like, I'm gonna say it now. Like, that just seems scary. Like, you don't put Phantom in the word immersive in one sentence. Like,
I definitely can understand that, but I mean, there's people who are into that more like scary. They want to feel a little bit fearful. People love Sleep No More. I think they might be doing something similar to Sleep No More. It might even be the same company. I have to look it up. But is it the same company as Sleep No More?
I think so. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, they're very talented at what they do, and they're really good at taking a story and then deconstructing it to be in that particular space. So it might not be Phantom as we know it, where it's very like A to B to C to D, but you might get to experience a show that we all love so much in a new way.
Because I mean, how more, I guess my question for that would be like, how more immersive can it get? Because you already have the chandelier dropping almost on your
Right.
head.
Right.
So it's like,
And I guess we're going down into the crypt, the basement. I'm not sure.
I don't
Hopefully
know.
we don't have to do the drowning scene ourselves, but I think, I'm sure that they're keeping a lot of it under wraps, just like they do with Sleep No More. So that way you have to go and find out.
Right.
I think
right.
a lot of shows nowadays are kind of walking the fine line between giving audiences enough of an inkling of what the show's about, so that way they're interested, but also not giving out too much away when so much is so readily available on our phones, right? Like we can just turn on a streaming service, we can just go to TikTok and scroll for hours. I know I do. So like, why are people coming out in person to the theaters? Why are people spending $200+ on a ticket?
Yeah, that's another thing too I wanted to talk about too is like New York in general, like Broadway in general is so expensive and
Yeah. I mean, so a big part about it is the cost of running a show, right? You have to pay actors, you have to pay set, you have to pay union fees, you have to pay the theater space itself. And because people aren't showing up to the theaters, it's kind of this catch-22. Like people aren't showing up, so you have to charge more, but then people can't afford to pay more. And it kind of becomes this vicious cycle of you're not getting enough butts to fill a seat, and that's why shows aren't lasting. And also this past season 22 new shows opened. Like if you're choosing, and all of them were incredible, how are you going to choose where to spend 300 of your dollars between 22 shows? You can't choose them all.
I mean, I get like, some shows need to leave too to make room for new shows. But then it's like Phantom leaves. My favorite favorite I've seen it twice. Once Pan was my very first show. I was 4 years old when I saw it, which is probably a bad age to go see Phantom, but whatever.
I mean, it didn't scar you that much, right? You're probably fine.
Probably fine.
You're probably fine. I also saw it when I was like 5 or 6, something like that. I'm probably fine.
I have mental issues at all.
I mean, listen, as long as we're addressing our traumas, like I said in my musical, as long as we're addressing them, there's hope for us.
Exactly.
But in terms of shows leaving, sometimes it is more beneficial for them to leave. Sometimes if they're not making the money they thought they would on Broadway, and it just ends up, spending lots and lots of money to keep a show running that's not recouping, then they have the option to go to MTI and do touring productions or do high school productions and get money from licensing or world tours.
So then where can everybody go see Infernal now?
Yeah, definitely. So right now what we have is a 1-act available online. That's from October 2021. You can follow us on TikTok. We've been running it for about a year as well. And it's been amazing how quickly our little community has been growing and all the love that people have been showing. It's just been so amazing. And then hopefully we'll be having an announcement soon-ish. Hopefully in the fall, we'll have an announcement of where we're going to have our next show, whether that's in London, Chicago, Atlanta, or somewhere else. So hopefully, people follow our TikTok, people come to our YouTube channel, they subscribe and they say, I want to know when this is coming up so they can see it in person with a big budget or bigger budget and actual costumes, set, lighting, design, more of that put into it, and get to see it in person and experience it for themselves.
I mean, I don't know. Like I said before, like that Amazon, that's like smart thinking.
It definitely was, but I would love to bring on a costume designer onto the team as well, just because, the more artists I get to work with, the more that I get inspired, and the more that we can help each other's careers and bring beautiful art into the world, because that's what it's about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then my final question is, what's your favorite Broadway show?
Okay, so that's a hard one. Phantom of the Opera will always be my first love because, like you, it was, I think, my first Broadway show, and I used to sing. I used to take guitar lessons, and before guitar lessons started, I used to sit. It was a music store as well, and I used to sit with the score, and I would sing all the parts. I would sing the Phantom's parts. I would sing Christine's parts. I'm sure it wasn't very good, and I was just singing to myself. But I would sit in the corner, and I would with the scorebook, and I would just sing through every single part. And then for contemporary would probably be Come From Away, just because I love the ensemble cast. I love how it's staged and how they play a bunch of different roles. That's something we play with Infernal as well. And I just love a show where you can laugh and cry through the entire time.
Can I tell you something though? Last season, our theater here in Michigan had Come From Away here.
Right.
I missed it because I completely forgot that I was supposed to usher, and yeah. So I missed it.
It'll come back around again. It is better. A really moving show. It's based on a true story. It's a really moving show, and I think it just talks about the human experience and the goodness within us all in a really delicate and kind way. And I'm hopeful for more iterations of it, even like local productions as well, regional theaters doing it as well.
I saw Dragon Little Pill 3 times though, so
I can see the poster on your wall.
Yeah, awesome. I got it.
That's amazing.
I saw that 3 times and I don't regret a thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I mean, I just love theater, so I'll go to theater as much as I can, as much as my bank account allows.
I have a binder full of playbills like that thick. Yeah, because like I usher. I've been ushering for like a year now.
Oh wow!
And so it's all filled with playbills of shows that I've ushered.
That is so smart. Actually, I didn't even think about that. It's like ushering as a free way to see shows. Yeah, and you pay for it, right? You get paid to watch the show.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'll go to and pay for a show once sometimes, but like ushering, that's like free, and I can literally go see a show.
Yeah, and you're doing a good thing for the theaters as well, and the shows that come through of like making sure that people are having correct theater etiquette, and you're doing a necessary job to keep theater running as well. Yeah.
I am excited for next season though, because Mandy Patinkin, if you know Mandy Patinkin,
of course,
he's coming. He's on tour right now,
right?
And he's coming to our theater, and I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh! You should. Do they have stage door at the Detroit theater?
Yep.
You should stage door.
On stage door. Oh, I stage door every single show. Show. I've met so many people. I met Susan Egan, aka Megara.
Yeah, of course.
Because the Broadway Princess Party came and she was in it, and I met her and she hugged me, and she might be coming on the podcast.
All of the performers are so incredibly nice, and that's something that always inspires me as well, is like seeing that people who truly love theater, people who are successful in theater, are really kind, hardworking, giving people, and it gives me hope as well. You know, if I kind of stay on that path of like being generous as a theater creator, being kind, and using it as a platform to build community and uplift others, then I will also find my path within it.
If you have time after this podcast, I will tell you another story off of the podcast, because I have another story that you're gonna laugh.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
Okay, well, thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you, Michelle, for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.